Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan to me means a time to reflect religiously, Islamically. It's a time to abstain from food. Also, it's a time to look at society and also be able to think about a lot of the people who don't have food and just by being hungry for a particular period of time. And so for me, this is a great time to learn the lessons that life teaches us, that there are also other people who don't have as much opportunity as we have, and to use this as a lesson to, one, give out more alms and also give out zakat more, and also be able to engage in good deeds more than usual. So I think it also means a time to continue to push the limits that we have in terms of doing good. And so Ramadan comes this year, if there's a certain limit of good deed that you typically do, you try to exceed that limit and keep going. So it's a time to try and, have consistency in the good that you do. So typically, Ramadan comes once in a year. And when it comes, everybody seems to have this hard reset thing that happens. So everybody is comporting themselves in a very, normal way, in the normal Islamic way that the Prophet teaches us in the Holy Quran. So I think that's what makes Ramadan special, is that it returns people to the very tenets of Islam, the way that the Prophet wants us to actually live. And so for me, this is very, very important because every time that is Ramadan, people remember that you have to do more good deed. You have to, even if they have some bad deeds that they do, they allow them for that period of time. So I think it's kind of a reminder for us to live in the way that the Prophet actually wants us to live. So for this Ramadan, one thing that I've always tried to do is read the Quran more often than I already do. And for me, I say this in the sense of someone who reads the Quran once at least during Ramadan. And this time around, I'm trying to push myself, go above that limit. Of course, I've been observing the fast even before I was 10 years old, so I'm kind of used to it. So for me, it's just doing more worship and also pushing my limits of reading the Holy Quran, inshallah. What I'm trying to do this Ramadan is to basically also focus on myself more and try to dig deep and connect with my spirituality because I observe that in other Ramadan I tend to, pray more for family, pray more for people. Of course, this is also still going to be the case. But this time I also have personal things in my life that I want to accomplish, and so I'll be doing a lot of that during this Ramadan, inshallah. Well, I think I try to listen to the Quran while walking. If I'm out walking, I try to ensure that, okay, I can't read the Quran while I'm walking, so let me listen. So I have my speaker always playing the Quran. Other things that I do when during the Ramadan is that I try to stay back to listen to the tafsir in the mosques after Maghrib. After the Isha prayer and the Tahajjud, I try to listen to tafsir. I also try to basically read online tafsirs as well for times that I can't stay in the physical one. Listen to tafsir by other scholars, Mufti Mank and the other guys who have helped us with podcasts where you can just easily download and listen to without having to be there in person. I have one Ramadan tradition actually, is that I think I've been fasting, like I said, before 10. But one thing that I've been consistent in the last, say, 20 years is that I never do sahur with anything else aside bread and tea. That's my biggest Ramadan tradition. So if I eat anything else, I think I find the fasting really difficult. Usually I have dates, but because I'm also this person who forgets a lot of the time, sometimes I find myself without the dates. So then I always have water in my flask which serves. So those are the two ways I think consistently that I break my fast. First, dates and then water. And then I return to the house to join my siblings to break the fast. Yes, I think more Ramadans than not I have completed the Quran. But most recently I begin to fall back on. That's why I'm saying I need to improve and then grow beyond just reading it once to even going like twice. Because my limit before was once, so now that I'm slacking, maybe I should push the limit away from once and see what happens. So I try as much as possible to complete the Quran during Ramadan, and in the times that I can't actually finish, I continue after the fast and ensure that I finish the Quran. I think again and again I find myself reading Surah Yasin because it's like what I grew up with. In my house, it's like what you have to read every morning before you go out, and it's also a very powerful surah because of some of the teachings that it has brought to us. And so for in my house, Surah Yasin is like the go-to surah because my dad is also like a sort of malam, so we do a lot of prayers in the house, and so for me that's like the go-to surah. No, I haven't. I think this is because I'm also a very homely person, but also a lot of the work while growing up in the house and a lot of the errands are my tax. But when I grew up, I also have to be there for my mom, and the other people, so it's always difficult to just go, so I just stay in the house. But my friend is trying to change me and say, you have to go to itikaf this time around. I said, inshallah. I think it's actually my first Ramadan as a kid. And this is because of the precedent it has set for me. When I was very small, the first Ramadan, I think I was about 7 or 6, I can't remember clearly. But I remember in Kano, we were fasting at the time, and my dad just came and said, fasting is starting tomorrow. If you are able to complete this fast, I'm going to give you something. So I think I kept wondering what that thing is, and I actually went halfway that first time. And so he's like, oh, you went halfway. So, he gave me money and said I should go and buy something. I forgot what the thing is, but I really liked it at that point. But I think from that period, I've actually not missed one fast in a Ramadan, unless maybe due to illness or something. So like I've consistently always fasted because, it kind of built the habits in me to be motivated and, look forward to Ramadan very well. Currently, I work for a firm called Reboot. We design social programs. So I'm actually a program associate. So what we do is that we do social designs, and we also do research. So I'll give you an example of what I mean by all this grammar. Is that when international organizations come, say to Nigeria, and they want to do like a development program, they reach out to us to help them design those kind of programs or do research to find out what the people on ground actually are thinking, to help them, deliver those services properly. Okay, so typically my job requires me to stay at work till 5 p.m. But sometimes, to be honest, more than the number of times that I haven't stayed beyond 5 p.m. I think I stay more beyond 5 p.m. because I find myself actually doing more work later in the day than early parts of the day. So it's become a thing that at times I stay more. So, but during Ramadan, I actually ensure that whatever work I have is pushed to the next day. So I leave work at 4 p.m. During Ramadan, and I tell them, see, I have to go, because during Ramadan, I have to go back home to eat with the family and so on and so forth. But also the way that I do it is that all the work that I have, I try to, pin it in between 9 and 4 p.m. and time box myself and finish the work before it's time for waking up fast. I'll say that I pray a lot of Nawafil during Ramadan, and it's also a personal thing because if you look at the number of times that we pray Salah when it's not Ramadan, we just tend to, at times, just pray our 5 daily prayers, and we struggle to pray Nawafils. Right? At times we try and then we add Nawafil, but during Ramadan, we try as much as possible to exceed the number of Nawafils that we do typically during the day. So I push myself to do more Nawafils, even after Isha prayer. When it's time for Tahajjud, I still do like personal Nawafils, just to ensure that I'm going beyond. And I also ensure that I engage in supporting mosques around my streets, and also giving out alms. The last 10 days of Ramadan is actually a super feeling, but it's also a drag, because as a human one, you are looking towards the end of the Ramadan, but your spirituality tends to come in that time to say, no, this is actually the time to worship Allah the most. So for me, it's that time where I really dig deep and say, like somebody who is running a race or a marathon, is actually when you are close to the end that you begin to struggle the more to stay on the line. So that's the point for me where I dig deep and say I have to keep going and ensure that my focus is there to the end. So it's the super moment, the way that I see it, but it's the most challenging moment as well. I think that before last Ramadan, I typically, love wearing like jeans and t-shirts a lot. It's like the fabric of my work. But between last Ramadan and now, I've tried to adjust to wearing more long robes, especially on Fridays, and also attend more functions, Islamic functions. Eid for me is really the special moment. So in my family, we used to have family traditions around Eid. And going all the way back, my dad buys clothes for us, but then my mom also buys without telling my dad that she's bought clothes, just to keep all of us happy. So it's like a team between them, who buys the most fancy clothes for the kids. Although when we grew older, those things didn't happen anymore. But we really enjoyed that. But for Eid, I think it's the message in Eid that is really fundamental, in the sense that every Muslim looks forward to going to Eid to pray because of the significance that it holds. And it's the unity, when you are going to the masjid on the day of Eid, you see everybody going, and sometimes it actually reminds you of the Day of Judgment slightly. In the sense that you see every Muslim walking to the mosque, the child, the adults, ladies, and women as well. So, for me, it is very special for this purpose, and also for the purpose of the connection that it brings within the family, in the sense that it brings everyone back home to celebrate with our parents, and the kids are there as well, and to also celebrate with some of us that don't have kids yet. So this is why this is why Eid is special for me.